All right, I got a little bit of time. We'll see if we can get a little more of this done here before I call it a night. We ended the last segment with the on-time reports and the operator complaint reports, the operations reports, I guess you'd call it, where they admitted they had a driver shortage, but they never talked about the shortage of drivers. They never talked about the canceled runs. They never mentioned any of that, and we already know there's somewhere between 15 and 30 runs canceled a day. They didn't bother to mention that in this report, and I'll just remind you again that these are scripted shows. They don't say anything negative ever about anything. They've never brought up any actual problems. It's all spin to look good, and so we know that. Just want to reiterate that it's a giant shit show out there, and we listen to it every day. And things are bad, okay, but you're not going to ever hear them say that here. This is the part of TRIMET, the elite part. Okay, they don't suffer the fate of the drivers and the riders. They're outside the loop of reality. So let's go do a little more.
Rachel Tarva from Moss Adams, our external auditor. They will provide a review of our annual finance audit for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2021. Julie and Ashley, thank you for being here with us this morning.
And we know how this every year is the same thing. TriMet's great. They're doing everything right. Blah.
Just turn the floor over to you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me for interrupting, but through the chair, I would like to ask the general manager a question. Are we communicating any personnel issues with the public, with our ridership, so that they know that these are just inefficiencies that we have, that
Whoa.
We need personnel and...
Holy shit! He just asked the $1 million question, and no, they're not, okay? They do not tell the riders what's going on. I know that for sure, because I follow the thing, and they do not. They never mention the cancel. I guess the cancel runs are somewhere listed on their emails or something, but let's hear the answer.
We have a personnel shortage, and communicating that somehow to the public so that they know that we're not just slacking or not on the job properly.
Well, you weren't on the job until like yesterday. You hadn't done anything. This driver shortage has been going on since they so-called ended the pandemic, but not for them. The pandemic's not over for the elites. They're still hiding. The pandemic is over for the serfs. Here, get on these buses, pack them up. No, they haven't done any communication. Let's hear how he answers.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Director Edwards. I really appreciate that. Yes, we have.
Yeah, sure. And he's lying. That's a lie. Of course you're gonna lie. What you gonna say? No.
We have had a short conversation with the Oregonian. Also.
That trash article? Go watch my analysis of that trash Oregonian article, which was pure trash. Didn't even make sense, the article. It was written so poorly, a junior high student could have done it.
So on our websites that we're putting information out right now that we're massively recruiting, and that every training...
Yes, and that started yesterday, this massively... I mean, they've had their little job fairs and all of that, but they hadn't raised the salary until yesterday. And this has been going on for months, this lack of operators. It's a planned destruction of the infrastructure. I saw the same thing happen in 2008, Oh, the Great Recession! Everybody's going to get fired. And then, of course, it was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. The Great Recession only affected the working class. Exactly like what's happening now. The elites do great, the working class suffers every single time.
It's an agency, and I'm on the board of directors. Would have to just had a call with them. Every agency is facing what we're facing from the recruitment struggles right now. So we're going to get more from
And every agency is facing that problem because every agency refuses to make the job more attractive. You know, they offer a little bit. Not enough to get people to apply. Because they don't care about the rider's standard. And that's the truth. They don't care. They're all these people they're all elites. I don't know what Oz. He's got some business. I don't know what his deal is, but this guy's making $350,000. Sam and all of his little cronies in the office were all six figures.
Information out, make sure that it's out there. Working with our ATU partners as well regarding this issue. So
ATU is nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. All you see from ATU is pictures of Shirley with the enemy. She's hanging out with the enemy and putting pictures of her with them. Bad move, Shirley. It's really bad optics for you to be doing that.
So, yes, we have, and there will be more communication going out as well.
No, you haven't.
Great.
Stop
Thank you
lying.
very much.
It's over here. It's a good question,
Okay,
though.
so Julie and Ashley, again, thank you guys for being here. And
They
I'll
get paid
just
to
turn
be
it
there.
over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sam, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing a little space on your agenda this morning. My name is Ashley Austin. I'm one of the partners on the TRIMET audit engagement. Julie Desimoni is the signing partner, and she and Rachel Tarver, the senior manager, who helps manage the engagement day to day. They had some schedule shifts last minute, so it's just me this morning, but I have a few short slides here to go through with you, but please stop me at any time and ask any questions that you might have. So if you go to the next slide, please. So just a quick reminder of the nature of services that were provided to TRIMET by Moss Adams. We did perform our audit under generally accepted auditing standards, our professional standards, as well as government auditing standards, because TRIMET receives and spends so much federal funding during the year. We performed our audit in accordance with uniform grant guidance of TRIMET federal grants. And then we also performed, because TRIMET is an Oregon municipal corporation, you are subject to Oregon minimum standards compliance audit. So we also performed those procedures. And then finally, that last bullet, we did do an audit of compliance with the 2001 revenue bond indenture. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what were the results of all of those procedures that we were engaged to perform? So we did issue an unmodified financial statement opinion, which says that your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. That's a lot of big words, but all that means is that you have a clean opinion, the highest level of assurance that you could receive. That's what you want to hear. In terms of your uniform grant guidance opinion, so there's two opinions that we also issue related to those federal awards that you receive and spend. The first is on financial reporting, no financial reporting findings, no compliance findings in that opinion, so very clean. And then we also issue a report on the major programs that we audited, which was the Federal Transit Cluster. Again, no instances of noncompliance were identified as a result of our audit procedures. We do have one last step to complete the audit, the data collection form, but we will complete that within the next 30 days. In our report on Oregon municipal standards, no instances of noncompliance were identified in that report. And on the fourth bullet there, no instances of noncompliance in the 2001 revenue bond report either. So overall, this is exactly what you want to hear. This is great news for the organization.
It's the same thing we hear every year. Every year for the last 15 years, same thing.
Very clean opinion, clean reports.
Clean.
Next slide, please. So as it was already mentioned, we did meet with the Finance and Audit Committee this morning, and we went through our detailed required communications with those charged with government. So I just wanted to call a few items out on this slide. I won't go through each bullet in detail. A couple of things that the board should know is that TRIMET was one of the first agencies in the Portland metro area to adopt GASB 87. One of the first public transit agencies across the nation to adopt GASB 87. They adopted 1 year early. That takes a significant amount of effort by your staff to research all of the various requirements of that standard, implement the standard, update the prior year for the standard, and add the required disclosures to the financial statement. So I just want to give a huge amount of kudos to your finance team for putting in all that work, because it's a lot of work and it's hard to go first. And so just, if you ever see them out on the street, not in Zoom, please give them all the kudos. They deserve it.
Give all kudos.
In terms of just areas that we focus on as part of our audit, we do focus on management judgments and accounting estimates. It's one of those things that management can bias, and so we look at those fairly with a lot of rigor to make sure that those estimates are reported appropriately. Another thing that I should mention is there were no audit adjustments identified as a result of our audit procedures. So that just means, again, very clean year. No disagreements with management, no difficulties in performing the audit. That just means that we didn't disagree with management about an audit or accounting matter. We didn't have any difficulties, even though we performed the audit in this virtual environment. We didn't have any problems getting access to documentation, access to individuals. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. Just a couple of other items that I wanted to mention here. No material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies were reported. So again, I'm just kind of telling you again what I've already said, that it was a very clean year. There were a few best practice recommendations, which is completely normal, that were kind of verbally discussed throughout our audit procedures. And we had a couple of written management letter comments. Those are just kind of, again, best practice recommendations. And we discussed those with the Finance and Audit Committee earlier this morning. And we will provide the board with a written communication once it's been approved and finalized. So I will open it up for any questions from the board.
Board members, do you have any questions?
No surprise there. Nope. Move along.
I'm not seeing any.
Well, what are they going to ask? I don't know anything about this.
So thank you so much, Ashley.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
You too.
Ashley, Julie, thank you. As President Simmons says, thank you for meeting with myself, also President Simmons and the finance auditing team. Also, I'd just like to give a big thank you to Dee Brookshire, Cara Fitzpatrick,
Oh, here we go.
and our finance accounting team. Job well done here with this. So thank you very much from the organization.
Tough job to have from home.
Now I would like to ask Karen Powell, our Director of Facilities Management, to join in. Karen has an update on the extensive lighting improvement project that's underway
Yeah, what is this
our
for,
many
Cal?
large buildings and workspaces. The board approved this work not only to bring our facilities into code compliance, but also to lighten and brighten our workspaces and make our entire system more energy efficient. So Karen, you could say that this
I wonder how much they spent on this.
project has been somewhat more challenging than changing a light bulb.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager and President Simmons, members of the Board of Directors. We appreciate time on your busy agenda today to share what we hope will be a fun story about collaboration and teamwork. Brent, if I could ask you please to quickly put us into gallery view. I'd like to introduce some of our critical partners who help with the success of this project before we launch into our presentation. If I can ask each of them to give a wave once we get into gallery view when I introduce you. Is it Brent?
Hello?
Well, in any case, John Umbarger is our TRIMET electrical supervisor. He's been with the agency for just about 2 years, and in that short time, he has done a tremendous amount of good for our facilities. If John can give a wave, I can't see him on my screen right now, he is together with our journey workers, Dawn Lentz and Dave Lazary, who were just critical to the success of this project. And I'm really grateful that they're able to be here with us this morning to help me answer your questions. We also have with us this morning Greg Bambush with Cochran Electric, which is TriMet's on-call electrical contractor. Good morning, Greg. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And we also have Neil Schilling with us this morning with North Coast Electric, who is the lighting supplier, who played a critical role in helping us get this project done quickly and avail ourselves of some very attractive incentives from the Energy Trust of Oregon. Thanks for being with us, Neil.
Thank you.
And Brent, if you could go to the next slide, please. What we have for you here on our next slide is a photograph on the day we kicked off the project in August of 2020, which was really the height of the pandemic. And you can imagine the anxiety and concern in our operating areas and our garages and yards, just working together under these new and stressful conditions. It's really amazing what we were able to do together. And just quickly on that slide, Mr. John Wall from the Energy Trust of Oregon, Dave Lazary, who I mentioned is one of our journey workers who helped out hugely on the project, myself, Paul Phillips, who was a foreman for Continental Electric, and wonderful for us in the field, Greg Bambush, who's here with us today, is next to him, our project manager, and then Don Lentz on the far right, and then at the very far right seated is Mr.
What's the plan of a picture if you can't see your
face? Is next to him. Next slide, please. This story that I'll share with you today, again, is a story of collaboration, and we really feel strongly that this project was successful, in large part due to our core values in facilities management. If you visit our shops, you'll see these core values posted. This is what we try to live by: safety, customer service, teamwork, communication, and professionalism. We have found that if we stick to these core values, we work well together and we experience successful outcomes. Next slide, please. Just quickly, we received a fire marshal inspection of our center maintenance bus garage in July of 2020 that found that the fasteners for the high bay fixtures were not adequate to be code compliant. And a high bay fixture is just what it sounds like. It's very high up on the ceiling and it's very large to give adequate light to the maintenance bays so that our workers can work safely and efficiently. They're very heavy fixtures and code requires the fastener to withstand 50 pounds, and our fasteners only could withstand 3 pounds. So clearly we had an issue that we needed to respond to directly and quickly. Fire marshals like to have their findings corrected in very quick fashion, and they do include a due date. However, we're in a 24/7 operating environment in the middle of a pandemic, and so there was a lot of challenge associated with that. We quickly realized that the lights were well beyond their useful life and are not nearly as energy efficient as the fixtures that we have available to us today. So we reached out to our business partner, Cochrane Electric, who in turn brought North Coast Electric to the table, who brought Energy Trust of Oregon into the conversation. And with that partnership, we were able to devise a project that was so appealing and cost-effective for us that we decided to implement it not only in the center garage where we had that citation, but also at our other maintenance facilities, of course with the exception of the Powell garage, which is currently under construction.
I wonder how much you spent on this.
Technology when it is delivered.
Let's see if I can find
Together we upgraded and replaced almost about 10,000 light fixtures, again during a pandemic. Next slide, please. The benefits of the project were myriad. First, I would just like to share that due to the partnership with Cochrane Electric and the mutual trust over the years that we have built together, they agreed to allow our apprentices and technicians to participate in the work, which is highly unusual and can be risky for a contractor because allowing others to work that don't directly report to them could at times slow down the work and erode their profit margins. So we're grateful that they were willing to take that risk with us. And our apprentices and technicians have reported back that they had a tremendous experience, learned a lot, and took great pride in their participation, which you'll see a little bit more about later in our presentation. Aside from that, there are many white papers and studies available that reinforce that better lighting not only enhances safety through eliminating dark spots, but it also improves employee morale and efficiency because it's just easier to get your work done. And we heard staff make comments like, this place used to look like a cave. I used to feel like I was coming to work in a cave. And they're reporting that they feel much better about coming into a place where they can actually see what they're doing. In addition to those benefits, these LED lights are extremely sustainable on a multiple number of dimensions. They're going to reduce our maintenance cost associated with relamping because they don't need to have the lights changed nearly as frequently. Often they can go as far as 10 years or longer without being changed. And in these high bay conditions and mass lights in our yards, changing those lights requires lifts that are large, disrupt the workforce, and are just not very efficient. So that will save us a lot of money on a life cycle cost. They also do not contain mercury as our traditional lights do. And the project in its totality reduced our electrical consumption due to the lighting efficiency such that we removed carbon dioxide emissions the equivalent of removing 675 cars from the road. We're very proud of that accomplishment. So all this together reduces TRIMET's carbon footprint, and the savings allowed us to shift our procurement from our energy providers to green energy, further reducing our carbon footprint. So even though they're just lights, they have touched our organization and our operation in a number of ways. Next slide, please.
I can't find
I just had to share a picture of Dawn and Dave with you. What they have there between them is a printout of our spreadsheet that we use as a team to keep track of our expenses and the incentives received. I'll steal my own thunder and just share with you, I'll share later, that we already have in the bank over $1.1 million in incentive monies, and they were so proud of their participation in this accomplishment, they framed that spreadsheet and hung it in their shop. And I think there's no greater testimonial to their pride in this accomplishment than that to present. Thank you. Next slide, please. And again, Dawn and Dave are both with us today. So this project was challenging for many reasons. You've already gotten a little bit of a hint of that. We didn't have a lot of time to correct the code citation. The incentive program required all installations complete by the end of the calendar year of 2020, which was a real stretch.
Found the goddamn lighting contract, believe it or not. Okay, approved in August 2020. Cochran Electric, 1.2 million. It's hard to follow all the money that they spend.
And this work occurred again in a 24/7 operating environment that required complex scheduling and sequencing of our work, as well as staging of materials for just-in-time delivery so that we could maximize our efficiency. The project kicked off at the start of the pandemic. As I mentioned, anxiety levels were high, and we started to see very significant supply chain issues as the project progressed. And I'll just again thank our business partners here. I had no idea of the supply chain issues they were facing because they kept that behind the black curtain, as it were. As the customer, we had no notion until the project was over, and then we got to enjoy their harrowing stories and the heroics they employed to get those materials delivered to us on time. Next slide, please. So the components of our success, I think you'll find closely mirror our core values that I shared earlier in the presentation. Teamwork, as I mentioned, collaboration.
Yes, you're wonderful. Everybody loves you. They love it there. We already know how great
and
you
very
are.
prompt decisions from TRIMET. Any project is subject to delay when the owner cannot make decisions quickly, and this project was no exception. And again, I'll be thanking many of my colleagues at TRIMET for helping us to keep that quick timeline going. Next slide, please. So the numbers, this is just for the first round. Again, our major maintenance garages and yards, which are Ruby, which has 11 total buildings, Center and the Yard, Elmo and Merla. The total cost for those locations was just under $2.5 million. And as I mentioned, we have banked over $1.1 million in incentives as I speak today, bringing our net cost for all of that work to less than $1.4 million.
Okay, it was a great deal,
The icing
huh?
on that very delightful cake is that we will enjoy energy savings in perpetuity.
The icing on that very delightful cake.
Energy Trust of
Oh,
Oregon
God, I can't
calculated that
believe it.
savings at $360,000 per year. And that's based on the consumption of the fixtures that we had before versus the consumption of the fixtures we have today. And I would just remind everyone that that number will continue to grow. I have not yet experienced a decline in utility rates. So as the cost of power rises, the value of our savings increases because we're using that same lower number of kilowatt hours to keep our yards lit. Next slide, please. A very heartfelt thank you, as I promised. This was genuinely a team effort and not limited to the team that I introduced today. First, I need to thank you, our board of directors.
Oh my
for
God,
allowing
I
us
can't
to
take
work
it
with
moving
you
forward.
today.
I can't take it anymore.
As the incentive levels
I
rebound,
can't listen to her.
the impacts for our
Wait, that was interesting.
staff, not only in terms of safety, but also efficiency and their well-being.
Wait, stop.
Director Lewis?
Before, after.
Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you,
Before,
Karen. I
after.
just want to echo what Director Edwards has said, but I was curious to know if you've received any feedback or comments from the public in the public areas. I noticed, going through the pictures a couple of days ago, that you have lighting at some of the, the exterior spots. Did you and have you received any comments, feedback, plus or negative?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Lewis. I am not aware of
Thank you,
any.
Dr.
However,
Lewis.
I would be happy to follow up with our customer service folks to run a little report
Hello?
and see if we do have any SIPs or outreach from the community in recognition of these upgrades. I'd be surprised if we didn't, but we will report back to you on that if we may.
I like the pictures. The pictures are nice. Nice touch. The pictures are nice little touch.
Okay, Ozzy. Director Gonzalez?
Thank you, President Simmons.
Dude,
First of all,
here.
congratulations to the project team, the implementation team, and the staff.
Oh, Ozzy, please. Can you please stop thanking everybody constantly?
A great report, but the pictures speak for themselves.
The pictures.
The numbers tell a wonderful story, of course, and that's inspiring. So kudos to everybody out there.
Can you believe I actually watch these things? It makes you want to fucking pull your hair out listening to these people.
On the ops side that are showing these wonderful numbers. It tells a great story, but I think I echo the sentiments of fellow board members in really highlighting the human impact story here.
Cool.
That's where the pictures tell a fantastic story that we're really curious to kind of see and hear because it's going to improve the quality of life of staff. It's going to improve the quality of experience of the public as they interact with our parking garages, with the areas where this lighting is being improved. So not only a congratulations, but fascinating work to understand how we're really leveraging the impact benefits here. So thank you so much. Keep up the good work. It's great to see.
Shut up. I can't take this fucking...
Thank you, Director Gonzalez. And I'll just note for the board that our Director of Security, Pat Williams, has added in the chat an observation that he has received some positive input from the public.
Well, why would the public give input? They don't even know what's going on here. Okay, that's the stupidest comment I've ever heard. What would they actually care?
President Simmons, if I may add a comment.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Karen, thank you so much for your presentation, and I agree with all of the commendations, but just one more that I don't think was fully covered is that I love that we as TriMet are changing the way people are and industry is using energy. The smart energy decisions will be not only results oriented, but makes a positive impact in our environment, and it shows that we are driving to make a change, not just for our warehouses and for our employees, but to value accountability in a sense, because we are committing to this. It costs us money, but we are committing to this, what's better for the environment and for the industry. And on that, we're also shaping industries by going 10,000 light bulbs into the LEDs and so forth. So I just want to say thanks, and I'm enthusiastic about how this would save not only time and financial resources.
All right already.
How it would.
Come on, man! It's a bunch of lights.
Transportation mobility solution folks will.
So they changed the lights. Big fucking deal. Why don't you get a bus store that can work?
Thank you, Director Kim. And I realize as a result of your
comments... Why don't you get a goddamn bus that doesn't leak on a driver's head?
I should have also noted that we owe a debt of gratitude to the board and the executive leadership of the agency for providing us with a strategic business plan that prioritizes all of those important aspects. Safety, sustainability, employee morale, doing the right thing.
Why don't you get a transit system that works properly? Why don't you stop canceling runs?
Any other questions for Ms. Powell?
Don't, please no more, please no more.
Hearing none, I'll return. Thank you so very much. Very impressive. You know, there are studies that go back to the 1920s that show that lighting impacts productivity.
Yes, yeah, productivity
so,
of the stuff.
I would be surprised to see that, I would definitely see increased productivity as a result of this. So thank you,
Madam President and members of the board.
Oh, Jesus, who is that Karen Powell? God.
General Manager Sam?
I can't, you know, even a presentation like that's enough to drive me crazy. I mean, Jesus Christ, can you stop fawning over this stupid shit?